Hi, I'm Bryce Crittenden.
Hi, I'm Caroline Land, and welcome back to EPL's Overdue Finds.
Caroline, how's it going today?
I am having a great day today, Bryce. How are you?
Good. It's been a crazy last few weeks here at EPL. I have been working from home, but over the last couple of weeks, I've been in the office, which is the Stanley A Milner Library, and it has been absolutely crazy. Has it been as nuts for you, Caroline?
Well, I don't work at the Stanley Milner Library, so I don't have that experience. But we have just been so happy at Capilano, where I work, to see people coming back into the library after maybe being away for a few months. And yeah, they're just so excited to be there. We're so excited to see them. And I cannot even imagine what it would be like to see people after being closed for 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm getting an on-air fact check from our experts who we have here today, that it's been 4 years, and of course,
not completely 4 years, but almost 4 years.
oh, okay.
Almost. There we go. We have live fact checking now here on Overdue Finds.
I love it. I'm so happy.
So on today's episode, we're going to be talking with some of the people here at EPL who work behind the scenes here at the Stanley A. Milner Library. And we're going to be chatting about their favorite areas, and most importantly, how the public's been responding so far. So we've had so many people come through the doors and experience the new Stanley Milner Library again, kind of visiting it again for the first time in almost 4 years. So we can't wait to get everybody's thoughts on this. And Caroline, today we've got like pretty much a whole panel joining us, don't we?
I know. I think this might be our biggest recording group of adults yet.
Yeah, that's right. Not counting the kids episodes. This definitely is. Everybody here can vote or join the army. So first, we want to welcome back a couple of official friends of the show. First, he is the manager of the Stanley A. Milner Library, and apparently our Overdue Finds official fact checker, Richard Thornley. Richard, how are you?
I'm great, thanks, Bryce, but don't rely on me to check your facts. I'm a very erroneous sort of fact checker. So
we were last talking with Richard on our 1969 time capsule episode, which we recorded in his office at the Enterprise Square location.
That's right. Yeah, that was year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah, and here we are recording in offices again, just through Zoom.
And also joining us today, it's been way too long since she's been on the show. This guest was actually on one of our very first episodes, so I'm so happy to have her back. Please welcome back the associate manager of the makerspace here at the Stanley A. Milner Library, Holly Arnason. Holly, how are you?
I'm great, Bryce. I'm happy to be back. It's been too long. I thought I may have offended you and, Caroline, and it's just been a while. So I'm happy to be here, happy to be alongside some erroneous fact checking from Richard as well, and still loving video games.
I have to, although, in our defense, though, I don't remember which episode it was. We did ask you to come back, but you were busy. So at no point at all were we offended by that at all. But we are so happy to have you back.
Fair enough, Bryce. I'm happy to be here.
And I'm really excited too. Caroline, I always love having staff on for the very first time who haven't been on the show yet. She's the manager of the Shelley Milner Children's Library. Please welcome Tamara Van Biert. Tamara, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me. I'm a longtime listener, first-time guest.
We were joking around, actually, for those of you who joined us for our virtual open house. Tamara was a host on there, just like actually Holly was as well. So I was feeding Tamara some questions, and I know she kind of joked around before I think we went live with that one, that was kind of her audition for Overdue Finds. So Tamara, you did an awesome job, and we're so happy for you to be joining us today.
Glad to be here.
And let's also say hi to his first time joining us here, probably the newest staff, well, in this group anyway, the newest EPL staff member. I want to say hi to the manager of EPL's digital initiatives, Dan Alfano. Dan, welcome to Overdue Finds. How are you today?
Thanks, Bryce. I'm wonderful. Glad to be here. And again, I'm so happy to join in on the erroneous fact checking here. I like to just go with information and commit. So if I say something and I'm firm about it, maybe don't trust it.
Yeah, I think today we're going to have a blast. Caroline, I think you're just as excited as I am.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to hear about how opening weekend went at the Milner Library and to hear some of the reactions and what it's like for all of you now that the library has kind of opened its doors to the world.
Mm-hmm. So before we get into our Overdue Finds picks, I actually just want to give a quick shout out to our friends at the Spruce Grove Public Library. And they've actually started their own podcast called Behind the Stacks. So I think we kind of mentioned them, Caroline, about a month or so ago. They had kind of reached out and had some podcasting questions, and I had kind of given them some advice on even some kind of lessons learned from when we started Overdue Finds. So their hosts, Courtney and Simone, are great. So they have their first episode out. So if they do book reviews and talk about events taking place in Spruce Grove. So any of our listeners here in Spruce Grove want to add another library podcast to their queue, definitely give them a listen. They did a great job on their first episode. And Caroline, it's always great to hear about other library podcasts starting up.
Absolutely. Maybe we can have some kind of crossover event in the future. I
Definitely.
think libraries supporting libraries.
That's right. So before we start talking all about the library, let's get into our recent overdue finds. I know everybody on the show today has been super busy, so it's okay if you don't have one. But Tamara, as our first-time guest, have you been able to enjoy any movies or books or albums lately?
Well, I've got a different category for you, which is games. And I am not, I don't self-identify as a gamer, but I'm starting. I've gotten my first console gaming system ever. We bought a Switch for my family as soon as they were back in stock. And the library has just recently started loaning Nintendo Switch games. So this is a great opportunity to make sure everybody knows that. And I was able to take home Animal Crossing. I have never been into this kind of game before, but I have played a lot of it in the late nights, early mornings when I'm not able to be at the library helping open. I've been having a great time with my library-owned Animal Crossing game.
Shout out to our very talented staff here at EPL, because a couple months ago when that game first came out, we had some staff members. I want to say one was former guest Cassidy Monroe. I think Nancy Shung was also responsible for making some amazing EPL themed Animal Crossing videos that you can actually see on our YouTube channel, and we'll provide a link to those. But Tamara, have you and your family gotten really creative with your world on there?
I've only had it for about a week, so I'm at the point where everybody's moving in. And we'll be able to start doing some customization soon. But I was definitely inspired by those EPL themed videos.
Nice.
Dan, also another first-time guest. What have you been enjoying lately?
I've been into some audiobooks lately, and it's actually a series called the Helldivers series by Nicholas Sansbury Smith, as read by a gentleman named R.C. Bray. And I think the tone of his voice, it helps put me to sleep at night. And in this world of where the Helldivers live, if you thought 2020 is bad, join the world of the Helldivers when Earth is no longer inhabitable and humans are living on airships. So it's honestly been a really fun series to get through.
Does it kind of have like steampunk elements then, if everybody's living on kind of like airships?
Maybe a little steampunk, but think more, post-apocalyptic sci-fi. Maybe leaning towards maybe slightly more technologically advanced than our society is now. And why are we living in the air is the big question.
Ooh, I like that. That's such a good tease for the book, as is the name Helldiver. Like that's a phrase right there where if you how you react to that might indicate how you would enjoy the series.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it's any secret, so there's no spoiler here, but it's called Helldivers because there are spoiler alert specially trained people on board these airships that have to dive down to the surface of the earth to get supplies.
We do have a spoiler alert sound effect that Bryce loves to play, so maybe we'll just throw that in there just to be safe. / for Bryce's enjoyment.
Yeah,
I'd have to look at the jacket notes, but I'm pretty sure that's on the jacket. So
it's always such a fine line around like what is a spoiler and what isn't, and if it's on like the jacket notes or it's on the first page of the book, it's usually okay.
Yeah,
good to know.
It's kind of very similar to movies too. If it's in the trailer, it is no longer a spoiler.
I don't know about that, but
well, I hope it's not a spoiler. My first time on the show and I spoil a book or something. It'd be awful.
It's like first.
They may not invite you back for like 2 years or something.
Is that what happened, Holly?
Ooh, we're getting spicy already.
Yeah, total burnage here already. So Holly, what have you been enjoying lately?
Or in the last 2 years.
Yes,
in the last 2 years.
We'd like you to itemize everything you've enjoyed.
All right. Well, maybe for the sake of time, I'll start with what I'm currently enjoying. I'm currently enjoying an audiobook actually, but also a book called Dinosaurs Rediscovered: The Scientific Revolution in Paleontology by Michael J. Benton, as read by Matthew Watterson. And it's published, I think, in the past year or so. And so it's got really up-to-date sort of looks at science and dinosaurs and paleobiology and, questions about the color of dinosaurs. Can they be genetically engineered? Kind of updating where we're at currently with those sorts of Jurassic Park adjacent questions. So I'm really enjoying that book right now, and that's available through the library's collections.
Wow, I am just kind of stunned into silence with excitement from all of this. I love it. Remember, it wasn't that long ago when, at least in popular culture, I guess, science community told us that dinosaurs had feathers, and then all of a sudden we just started like picturing them with feathers. That was really cool.
Yeah, as far as I know, that's still legit. And as a bird owner, which is something we talked about on the last time I appeared on Overdue Finds, I was, thrilled, but also not surprised to discover that birds are in fact dinosaurs. It makes a lot of sense. It explains a lot of behaviors that I'm seeing. So lots of learning there.
What is the narrator like in that for the audiobook?
The narrator is definitely like, a scientific man, but not in a put you to sleep type of way. It's a fairly engaging narration. There is a bit of humor in the book as well, and a little bit of an acknowledgement of the fact that there's a lot of spiciness basically in the fields of paleontology and paleobiology, and there's a lot of contention about different theories of when things happened and where and how. So there's a lot of kind of lighthearted acknowledgement of that. So it's a fairly entertaining read.
Nice.
I know this is a total stereotype, but I kind of sometimes I think with a lot of those books when they are turned into audiobooks that basically it's somebody like Ben Stein from like Ferris Bueller's Day Off is basically the narrator, or basically anybody to make it sound like a really boring, like grade 10 biology class. But that's good to hear though. It inject some humor into it. All right. So Richard, yes. What have you been enjoying? And you always have, and I'm not sure, maybe you don't have a pick this week for music, but you always seem to have you have a very eclectic taste in music, which we've talked about on the show before. So do you have a music pick for us this week?
I do. So during the pandemic, I've just been consuming immense amounts of music, and recently started listening a lot to this guy called Thundercat. Do you know him? He put his third album out in April. He's insanely talented guy. He plays this gigantic 6-string bass, which is, I guess, where his name Thundercat comes from. He started out when he was like really, really young, playing with suicidal tendencies of all things. But now he does this kind of fusion, R&B, soul, hip hop, electro, everything kind of thrown into the mix kind of stuff. And his latest album, It Is What It Is kind of an homage to his friend Mac Miller, who you will know died a couple of years ago, hip hop artist. And it's just an incredible album. So I've gone back and I've missed his first 2 records, so I've just been listening to those. But EPL has all of his stuff, and It Is What It is probably going to be on my top 10 of the year. I think it's really quite an incredible record, and it's funny because the music is just so all over the place, and there's a real lightheartedness to it. But if you actually listen to the lyrics, it's actually perfect BLM kind of listening as well. There's a lot of message in his music, so yeah, quite good stuff. Thundercat.
That's
I just like saying that.
Yeah.
That is such a cool name. And right away, of course, being an 80s kid, I went to Thundercats immediately. And maybe he's got some of the like hidden lyrics in there kind of about the 80s cartoon series. Who knows?
Could be. I haven't dug that deeply, but it might be in there.
Okay, so today we're talking about, of course, the grand opening of the Stanley A. Milner Library. As is our new tradition, before we get to some questions, and we're chatting with our members of our Milner panel today, or the Fellowship of Milner, as we kind of joked around about before we started recording this one, we wanted to share some fun facts about the library. So the original building first opened in 1967, and at the time was known as the Centennial Library. It was renamed in 1996 in honor of library champion Stanley A. Milner for his lifetime of commitment to EPL. And the Children's Library, which I guess Tamara is the manager of, is actually called the Shelley Milner Library, and is in honor of Mr. Milner's late daughter, Shelley Milner, who loved to read and was apparently was rarely seen without a book in her hand. The Milner Library receives over 1.2 million visits each year, and this is the stat that, as somebody who worked out of the old Milner Library, was really excited about. The new library has added 648 windows. It's funny because if you talk to any staff member, what they were kind of most excited about with the new library, the vast majority of them would tell you it's added windows. And as a kind of a tie-in to today's episode, past intern librarians who have worked out of the Milner Library include co-host Caroline Land and guest Holly Arnason. So everybody's kind of got their tie to the library today. I'm going to start with Richard, because Richard, you were, of course, the manager of the Stanley Milner Library kind of before it had temporarily closed down almost 4 years ago. How long have you been involved in kind of the Milner revitalization?
First, let me just say I'm a Milner manager. I'm not the Milner manager. There are 3 Milner managers and a group of associate managers, and I'm just one of the team. But I have been involved in the renovation since the early planning, I guess, going back to 2015 when we were doing sort of community focus groups and starting the functional plan with the architects.
There were these big posters that we put in the lobby of the Milner Library and asked people to write down or to vote with like little dots what they wanted to see, what they were excited about, and I think even why they came to the library, like what they wanted to do in the space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we heard so many things from those sessions. We did sort of in-person conversational kinds of presentation meetings where we were getting verbal feedback from people, as well as doing the dotmocracy, right? And so much of what we heard, I think, has been incorporated into the building. You know, people said they wanted more light, they wanted a bigger makerspace, they wanted a bigger children's library, they wanted an Indigenous gathering space. You know, obviously, I think there might have been some things which were shared that haven't been incorporated into the building, but you know, the big themes are all here. So that's really cool. It's amazing to see it come to fruition. You know, it's been a long journey.
Yeah, Holly, you've also been involved for a while on this project.
Yeah, I sat in some of the same planning meetings that Richard would have attended in 2015 as well. And I definitely also participated in um, consultations about the makerspace specifically. So we had some sessions as well as collecting feedback from Dotmocracy and from those those giant talkback boards. We also had some sessions with community members and groups, and just, along Richard's comment, we heard things like people would like to see a laser cutter in the makerspace, people would like to see CNC machines, people would like to see art, people would like to see more gaming, and those are definitely things that we've carried through and expanded, made better, or even turned into their own services in the new Milner.
Yeah, it kind of goes to show too, a lot of times with those community consultation sessions, like we, not to kind of toot our own horn, but we did take those sessions very seriously, and we wanted to get that feedback from library users, and that's so awesome to see that so much of that stuff has kind of made it into the final, I guess, the new library that everybody can see today. Tamara, what was your kind of involvement like with this revitalization, and specifically the Shelley Milner Children's Library?
I've been really interested as an EPL employee. I was working for Castle Downs as their manager since 2013. So I was peripherally involved. I probably filled out some talkback walls about what I wanted from my downtown library. And then about a year ago, I actually started as officially the manager of the Shelley Milner Children's Library and the EPL to Go literacy vans. I mostly focused on the literacy vans and worked really closely with the youth services manager, Elaine Jones, to start shifting over responsibility for the children's library. And so it's really been since about a year ago that I got involved with the project. But a lot of it really fell to Elaine Jones and Evelyn Delgado, who worked hard on getting this place set up. So definite shout out to them for all the work they did. And I'm just over the moon about being able to manage the space now.
Yeah, it's a beautiful space, and I know we talked about it a little bit too on the virtual kind of open house that we did a couple of weeks ago, Tamara. But can you give us a little bit of detail about, I guess, some of the activities that are on the wall in there, and what those are called?
Do you mean the Bergeon Wall? We have so many walls
here.
here.
Thank you. Sorry, that's what I meant.
I was going to say there are a lot of things.
There's the one wall.
Yeah. Tamara, can you tell us about that cool thing in the library?
So the Bergeon Wall is Bergeon is a company that deals exclusively with libraries to make these beautiful walls, and they have the one that we have two different spaces within the children's library. There's an interactive map, and there's a wall in the play space, the Brown family play space, that has lots of different interactive elements, and lots of colors is just a great thing to welcome people into the library and set the tone for children playing while they're here. You might even be able to hear them through the audio. There's a few of them out there right now.
And Dan, probably one of my favorite areas of the library. There's lots of them, but has to be the gamer space. How fun was that, kind of putting it together?
Yeah, it was really cool. So as you kind of mentioned earlier, I came to EPL just in December 2019. And so I think even the week before I arrived on site, the previous manager had already just purchased all the equipment for that space. And so it was kind of like a gift, like, hey, welcome to your new job. By the way, I bought you 10 gaming PCs and some supplies for you to set this room up. Go for it. Have some fun. So it was a pretty good first week of work. And, we spent a lot of time with a number of team members here at EPL setting up the space. Holly's been involved. Our digital initiatives librarians have been involved. Our IT department's been involved. And really, everybody's kind of had some input as to how that gamer space should look, and I'm really happy with how it looks. Our design and production team also put up some really sweet graphics on the walls, not only in the gamer space, but around all of Milner. I'm really excited with how it turned out. I'm excited to learn more how our customers like it. It's super cool, and really, it's so fun. It's every person's dream to have something like that at their disposal.
So I had to
It's
tell
definitely Bryce's dream.
It is. And I very quick story. So we were doing staff tours about a week or so ago, kind of before we opened everything up. So everybody, all the staff members could come in, get a tour. And I was kind of helping organize that. And between tours, I was like, oh, I'm just going to go up and see if anybody's in the gamer space. So Dan's in there kind of cleaning up and just getting everything ready for the tour. And I noticed, of course, the giant arcade cabinet. So nosy me, I have to go over and just make sure it worked and everything and tested it out. And before I knew it, like I think almost an hour had passed and we're playing some WWF WrestleFest and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was fun.
It's easy to get lost in time.
It was very close to doing like a live on location episode of that would just be us playing in the gamer space.
Absolutely. It's like, here's me playing Burger Time for 30 minutes. So it almost happened.
So you've all been working, whether it's months or years, on this project. It opens to the public. There was a grand opening last week. The doors opened. People could finally come in. What was the reaction that you were seeing from people seeing the space for the first time?
Well, just generally joy and I think excitement. People were very pleased to be back in the library. We'll all have stories to tell, but I remember I was talking with one young woman who'd come in and she was telling me how awesome the library was and that she was crying for joy. And so she was getting all choked up and she's like, look, I'm going to cry right now. It's just, for me, that kind of summed it up. Just people are really excited to see it, I think. There was some social media stuff about the exterior of the building, but the interior of the building far eclipses the exterior. I think it's just incredible in here.
And that was the message that kind of was shared at the time, that once people could see inside, see everything that you could do and create and access in the space, because it really is about what's inside.
Yeah, I think a lot of thought went into how much space was given to services and activities and where it was situated in the building. And there's a really nice flow to the space. And yeah, it's very inviting and it's very warm, and it's, like if I were, well, I guess I am a library user, but let's just say I was going to visit the Milner, I'd be quite happy to come and stay here.
And I certainly saw that with the number of library staff members who were visiting through opening weekend, our library, but then also the library community in the greater Edmonton area. People were coming out to see what this was like. It had an excitement around that for sure. Yeah,
and there was so many of our, sort of regular customers who've been waiting for 3.75 years, right? And to see all those faces again coming back into the building was quite incredible. So yeah, I'm waving at one right now. I was just going to say, I have my office is right on the floor and I have a window that looks out. And so many people kind of peer in through the window to see what's in this room because they haven't figured out the layout yet. Yeah. So I'm like, hello.
It's like, what exhibit is, what feature is here? And it's Richard.
Yes, it's a living exhibit.
It changes all the time.
Erroneous fact checker exhibit.
Well, I was going to quickly say, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but 2020 has been a challenging year. So the one thing I imagined when you were talking, Richard, about that customer who got emotional was, we have this library kind of open. We, of course, were in Enterprise Square temporarily, for almost the last 4 years. This is one of those things where it's like, now that we're reopened and the library is such a big part of a lot of customers' lives, like this is kind of one of those things that are kind of helping get everything slowly back to normal. It's like I'm visiting and I'm going to this location now again, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's kind of like a splash of normal.
That's one of the themes I've heard from families here, especially with people with young kids. There's been so few activities available for them for 6 months, and having a place that is designed for them and that celebrates children We strive to be safe right now. It's a hard time to be opening, obviously. We can't do all the things we were planning, but the feedback we've heard is just that it's so lovely to be able to come into a space that's built for kids, where there's stuff they can do, and where we're happy to see them.
Holly, how about you? Did any moments from opening weekend stand out?
Yeah, so with the makerspace and our opening weekend visitors, I had similar reactions to what Richard's describing. We had customers get emotional, and not only because we were back, but also the makerspace has grown from just over 2,000 square feet to 10,000 square feet in terms of its operational service area. All of the services have expanded. We have new equipment. We've expanded what our offerings are and what people will be able to access. And so I had people who, we would tour them through a few stations, showing them the new self-serve 3D printing service, showing them the sewing machines that we're going to be introducing soon, showing them sewing, and people would start to get a little bit choked up because they just couldn't believe that this was for them, and they couldn't believe the scale that this had been done to. And something that I commented on Twitter, and I'm still hearing from the public, is just how much of a positive experience this opening has been, and like returning to this brand new beautiful building has been for people in what has been a pretty hard year for a lot of folks. So basically over and over again, we had people walking through the makerspace, the Fab Lab, and the studios, looking at it almost in open mouth shock. I couldn't 100% tell because they were wearing masks, which is awesome and very much appreciated. But people just seemed blown away by what's being offered. When I asked them as we were waiting to get them into the space about, what their favorite things were in the building that they'd seen so far, people just commented on the digital wall, they commented on the gamer space, they commented on the collections and the children's library, and they just had this wide-eyed look, and just, I heard amazing, I think, over and over again this weekend.
Yeah. Dan, how about you? What was your experience like?
Yeah, I got the ability to spend some time in the makerspace, in the gamer space, down on the main floor on the wall, walk the floor and see how people are doing. And it was really cool to see the mix of people who are, tourists and just checking out the space, but also the people who just needed the services and, are accessing the internet again and are just, making use of the facility that we've built for them. And it's so nice to see. And, some people are nose down doing their thing. Other people are head up and jaw dropped and looking all over the place. It's really cool to see the different people using the library and coming to see what we have. And I think the biggest thing that I noticed was, and a common topic that people brought up, was that this isn't, a stereotypical library. I heard people compare it to like a campus. I've heard people compare it to like a museum. We have art, we have exhibits, as you mentioned, Caroline. We've got collections, we've got things to do. It's a really dynamic space is really the verdict I was getting from our customers.
Yeah, libraries as space. I think I may have talked about it on the podcast before, but libraries as public space is something that's really important to me as a librarian, and one of the reasons why I work in public libraries. And having this new library be a publicly available space, everyone is welcome to be in this library, and you do not need to pay to get in. You can just go in and enjoy. This is a huge thing. It's a beautiful, inspiring space, and it really is meant for everyone.
Just adding on to those comments, another thing that I heard a lot that I just wanted to highlight is we heard so many times over the weekend that thread of the library as a community connector. So people would experience a new space like the gamer space, and they would say, like we had a grandmother who said, I can't wait to bring my child here and show them this, or my grandchild here and show them this. Or we'd have, somebody see the CNC mill in the Fab Lab and say, I'm so interested. I work with this whole group who likes woodworking. I can't wait to show them this. We just heard that over and over again, how people couldn't wait to show their family members. And I saw a few repeat people on the Sunday who'd brought people back with them to experience the library again. So that's a really exciting dynamic that we experienced too.
I'd also like to add in too that stemming off of what you just said, Holly, about people making those connections, it was also to community groups too and organizations. People saying, oh, hey, I know a group of volunteers who run gaming tournaments. Would you guys be interested in working with us and seeing what we can offer to the public? Or, hey, I know somebody who's an artist and really wants to share something with the makerspace. And those kind of connections were also evident this weekend too, which is really cool to see.
We've all have our favorite pieces or areas kind of going into the opening of the new library. Has anything surprised or impressed you with its popularity now that the library is open?
I think for the children's library, of course, we weren't surprised. People love the mural, Ricardo Capato's mural that they see when they enter. They love the big piano that shows them right away they can play and make noise. The thing that surprised me isn't really what they liked, because I think everybody played with all of it, but that they liked it so much, though we had to put a lot of it away with the Alberta health guidelines. We can't have collaborative or community toys out. And so a lot of the things that are for big building and collaborative play are put away for now. They'll come out again someday soon. But people were still so impressed, and those impressions of, wow, and there's so many things for my kid to do here. And the way people could interact with the space, even though I was mourning a little bit how we had to open, especially in the children's library, how many things are different than what we expected. It's still such a great space, even as it is, and that was a really nice surprise this weekend.
So the library is just going to get better as we go along and can add more and more stuff back into it.
Exactly, more to come.
Yes.
I wanted to actually, on that note, one of the things that was quite popular when we were in the Enterprise Square location was just jigsaw puzzles, putting puzzles out for people. And it took but 2 days before we had our first request for, where are the jigsaws? So they're coming soon too. But it's like, what's impressed me is just the appreciation that people have for the big things, obviously, the really sentinel things that have been done in this building, but also the little things, just the fact that the furniture is better and more comfortable, and I've heard a lot of people sort of gushing over just the comfort of the chairs, and it's a welcoming space. But anyway, the jigsaw puzzles, I thought it was funny. So jigsaw puzzles coming soon.
That was interesting what you were saying, Richard, too, about even the furniture. It's something that I know a lot of thought went into all aspects of the library. But, something like furniture, it's like, oh, these look good, they will be comfortable. But, I guess probably a lot of times I think sometimes we focus on a lot of the really big stuff, like the wall and makerspace and children's library, but something really is, it's not small, but something like seating. I imagine it must be so rewarding to hear people are comfortable there, and it's so important.
Well, I think a lot of credit for the seating choices, both sort of the functional choices as well as the aesthetic choices, has to go to my director, Chrissy Hodgins, and to our CEO, Pilar Martinez, who was very involved in choosing the furniture for the building and choosing just the color scheme and sort of that whole aesthetic. And I'm going to have one small admission here. We bought a number of pieces of furniture, which I love, but we also bought a number of ottomans. And I thought ottomans are going to be a challenge here at the library, because that's like one level of comfort too far. People are just going to sit down, put their feet up, and go to sleep. But the ottomans have been a huge hit. And yes, people have been putting their feet up, but they haven't been going to sleep. But I think overall the furniture is quite amazing.
Yeah, I don't want to steal Dan's thunder here, but I do want to talk about the gamer space for a second. I received multiple reports over the weekend that customers were trying to find out the model and make of the chairs that have been supplied for console gaming in that space, because they were so cool and so comfortable that people were like flipping them over and writing it down so that they could try to procure these for their own home entertainment spaces. I also saw on Twitter that someone asked if EPL could make the gamer space there's a really cool vinyl there's just an amazing kind of look to that space that's been done through signage, and we have pulled that into the PC backgrounds as well in that space. And also a customer on Twitter asked if we could make that available for download. So people are just loving the look. They're loving how that brand that was done so many years ago has been pulled into new building. We got lots of comments on the t-shirts that staff were wearing as well. And just people kind of love the bright visuals and the signage in different areas of the makerspace. It really had an impact for people. So that's something that I noticed. We had a little bit of that kind of comment in the makerspace as well, but people were definitely paying close attention to the furniture in the gamer space.
Love the idea that someone is going to have the computer background, the gaming chair, maybe some of the other colors or technology, and their house is going to look like an EPL satellite location.
Maybe that's a good fundraising thing that we can look into. Maybe we start franchising out EPL, gamerspace, makerspace for people's homes.
I feel like there's an opportunity in this time of COVID. That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, how about you? Were you hearing anything that from customers that you were, pleasantly surprised to hear?
Yeah, I think actually as an EPL relative newbie, I can still say that until maybe for another couple months. But what really impressed me was how many customers recognize staff. And even though it might have been just a handful of months since staff were at Enterprise Square, but just the regular customers excited to see staff again. Where can I find this? I know it was over here at Enterprise Square. It's so nice to be back. I missed you guys so much. And that was really cool for me to see. Obviously, when I first started, I didn't get a whole heck of a lot of time on the floor in the library at Enterprise Square. And so I think, to me, that was the big win, that it's not just the building. There is that community here. And customers are appreciative of the space. And Caroline, you mentioned earlier, it's a true public space and everybody's welcome. And that just helps solidify that for me as a library newbie. And talking about the merchandising and fundraising for gamerspace iconography, I think it's awesome. Let's do it. Let's make t-shirts. Let's make backpacks, flamethrowers.
I have to give a really
not flamethrowers.
Not flamethrowers.
No.
Let's only make things that you can bring into the library.
Yeah.
We can use this last question as a bit of a lead into our roundtable questions. But I have to ask you, so I'm going to put it to all four of you. What one thing would you say cannot be missed on your visit to the library? And I'm going to hold you to one, but I can also have my arm twisted because we do want to tell everyone how cool the space is. But we'll start with one. What one thing cannot be missed?
I'm a little biased in giving this answer, but I think the recording studios in the makerspace are something that you should not miss. Those have been acoustically engineered. They've been purpose-built. They're gorgeous inside. They have all new equipment loadouts. We've already got people this week up and running in those studios making music, and they are just stunning. I'm so proud of them, and I can't wait for people to continue to make music and to continue to do podcasting and more kinds of audio work as we get up and running.
That feels like a very personal, directed answer, Holly, for one thing that I should not miss in the Milner Library, because as we've been recording today, I've had some audio problems. I've seen the studios. I cannot wait to get in and be recording out of them.
It's also a personal one for me, Caroline, because I had quite a bit of involvement in the construction process for those, and I kind of know quite a bit about the process to build them. So it was a process, and so far we're really happy with the results. So yeah, I don't miss those studios.
Cool.
Yeah, I know Caroline and I can't wait to be recording out of them. I know today there's 6 of us, so of course social distancing and all that fun stuff. We thought we would do this one remotely, but yeah, we can't wait to get back in there on a regular basis. Dan, how about you?
Yeah, I'll add to Holly's comment here as well. I think Holly's got an honorary certificate in HVAC systems. All the work that Holly's done with the studios to make sure that they are as silent as they could possibly be, and working with our contractors here, it's pretty impressive. But the one thing that I will say is a can't miss is the digital wall is great, but there's also a wall behind the wall, which we call the B wall, which doesn't mean it's B-list at all. It is so cool. And we had two developers in-house, Haley Requa and Steve Runham, who actually created their own application for that wall. And it's a carnival simulation. It's kind of like skee ball meets K-Days. It's really cool. You can't miss it. Check for it on the B wall.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I absolutely love the skee ball game there on the B side. I'm always trying to beat my previous high score, and yeah, definitely make sure, like, on the front side, there's like the reef and the dinosaurs. You absolutely need to see that, but make sure you go to the back side and play a game of skee ball. It's really fun.
On the B wall, which stands for be sure to check it out.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tamara, how about you? If there's one thing that people should check out.
I've been having a hard time with this one. Obviously, there's so many different things. But I think one thing I want to talk about is how we're going to be starting up some pilot family story times again. So something that our families have really been missing are classes and events. And of course, we did great work with EPL at Home, providing virtual classes for families, but we're going to be starting some registered in-person family story times second week of October, I think. They'll fill up really fast, but I think it's something that we just can't miss, to be back together again in a physically distanced way, sharing stories. And the staff that are here are so skilled in children's programming. They've all chosen to work directly with kids, and I can't wait to see them back with families again in that way.
I think for me, it would be the Indigenous Gathering Space, which is on our main floor. It's called Piasu Waskegan, which is Thunderbird House. And I know, again, Pilar and Christy, a number of other people from EPL were very involved in working with Indigenous communities and elders to design that space. It's designed in the round. It's oriented to the north, south, east, and west with doorways in respect of Cree traditions. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful room. It's got a lot of natural wood. It's engineered for smudging and for pipe ceremony. But it's also open to anybody when it's not in use or it's not booked. It's welcoming to anyone to go in and just sit, contemplate, read, just chill out for a bit. It's a very peaceful room, actually. It's also quite quiet because it's also soundproofed. So it's kind of a neat room to just go and sit in. Good for meditation.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see here, kind of once we, as Tamara touched on, once we're able to kind of have more in-person programming here at the library. I'm really curious to see what the different types of programs that we're able to host in there. I think it'll be great for the community. All right, so let's move into our quick roundtable questions since we're running out of time today. I'm sure that there's been some long hours and sleepless nights through this whole project. Is there an album or song that you'd like to listen to help you relax and unwind?
That's an interesting question. Relax or unwind. So I'm thinking I'm on my way home from work and I need to put something on to unwind for the day. It honestly might be something from the band As I Lay Dying, which is not what somebody would typically assume with relaxing. It's loud and it lets me shake it out.
Sometimes I find that really loud music helps me get out of my head. There's just no other space for thinking or for going through my to-do list or reliving the whole day over and over again. So it just kind of gets me out of my head.
Tamara, how about you? What do you like to listen to unwind?
I tend to use music for when I'm not stressed. So I don't actually reach for music when I'm feeling stressed for whatever reason. I go to podcasts or just anything but music usually. I think because I grew up, or I started out as a musician in my early days, thought I would be a musician, and it just is too involved to relax with. But I did very recently start listening to sleep meditations. So that is a very literal way to unwind. And it actually transformed my sleeping, where I used to be up till 2 or 3 every day. And I started to be able to fall asleep within half an hour. So highly recommend it to anybody struggling with sleep. It was quite transformative over the last month or so.
Nice. Maybe not the best to be listening to in the car as you're driving, but it definitely that sounds like a great idea to help you fall asleep at night. Richard, how about you? What do you like listening to unwind?
Yeah, I don't know. I listen to a lot of music all the time. I don't listen to music specifically to fall asleep. Never have any trouble falling asleep. But there's some music I have been listening to a lot to kind of chill out a little bit. There's a guy called Ben Chesney. He has a band, Six Organs of Edmonton's. And at the beginning of the COVID times, he released an album called Sleep Tones, which is very different than his normal music, which was very psychedelic and quite great. But this is very sort of droney. He actually he produced this music to not be involved with, so you can kind of actually have it in the background, and that's perfectly okay. Anyway, so that's what I've been listening to a lot. Sleep Tones, Six Organs. Yeah.
Nice. All right, Holly, how about you?
All right, I had to review a playlist to come up with this answer, and this is not necessarily an unwind song. This is more of a like getting amped up to get the makerspace ready to go type of song. And what it is it's a piece of the soundtrack from The Life Aquatic. It's by Mark Mothersbaugh, and it's the Ping Island lightning strike theme. And this is from the point in the movie where Bill Murray's character is launching a rescue mission to rescue the insurance company tax accountant, or I think they call him Miss Stooge. This seems a little impolite, but it's like a really high octane, like electronic piece of music, and I feel so amped whenever I listen to it, and I feel like I'm about to rescue, the insurance company Stooge going into work. So that's my absolute favorite piece of music that I've been playing quite a bit recently to get ready for the day, get hyped up to do something.
Nice.
Caroline, what do you like listening to unwind?
Lizzo is my You Got This music, and so that's what I have. I also, as I was making the notes for this, I remembered that when I first listened to her most recent album, I texted Holly and asked her if she thought the song Jerome was about the Edmonton area library listserv, which is a joke that about 3 people will get, but I thought it was very funny at the time.
Such a deep cut. Richard is saying no in the chat.
Well, when you said Jerome, I was like, I know that name. Where do I know that name from? And of course, it's that listserv.
It's the listserv, but it's also one of Lizzo's music, one of Lizzo's songs, and yeah, her music just gets me pumped, feeling good, ready to take it on. How about you, Bryce?
Very similar to Dan, almost in a way. A lot of the music I listen to is maybe a little bit more up tempo, but if I've had a stressful day at work or just need to unwind, I actually prefer listening to podcasts, especially on the drive home. It really kind of helps me just kind of listen to somebody else's conversation a little bit, and maybe that thing that was stressing me out, I've kind of put it in the back of my head for a little while and listen to people talk about whatever, whether it's hockey or movies. Yeah, just any interesting conversation kind of helps me unwind a little bit.
Maybe someone is listening right now to us trying to unwind. To them, I would say, hey, be kind to yourself.
Yeah, you got this.
Yeah, you got this.
I was going to interject with a loud noise.
Those are the people, if you're falling asleep to this podcast, I mean, that spoiler warning alert could come at any time. So
absolutely,
that's a little dicier. But yeah, if you're trying to unwind, just take it easy.
All right, last question. Everybody's worked so hard on this, and let's say you've become internationally famous for your work on this project. What building, anywhere in the world, any industry, are you going to revitalize next? Richard?
All public washrooms in the whole world. They are going to be better and usable and clean.
I don't know what anybody else is going to say, but that's probably the best answer.
Yeah, let's just call it there. Thank you for coming. No, that's a very good answer.
Yeah.
I like that specialization.
Dan, how about you?
Richard, well, you put me in a tough spot here.
They could go with kitchens.
I can revitalize any building in the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
Let's revitalize. Oh God, I don't even know if I have a good answer. Let's make parkades safer. I feel like they're all crumbling down one of these days.
Nice.
Also a great answer. Yeah, there's some scary ones out there. Tamara, how about you?
I would vote that we end with Richard's answer because that's really not followable, Rick.
You're just going to support Richard.
I support, I'll work with
Yeah.
Richard. It's been great over the past year. I think we could continue doing that. And
Such
the
a great
public washroom
team.
thing is unbeatable.
Holly, did you have anything?
Yeah, I guess for me, I'm already starting to think about the 2045 revitalization of this building. And I think that we're definitely going to have to get that slide that connects the different floors so that people can slide down. I think we're going to need like not just a gamer space by that point, but also like a full immersive like Mario Kart track that's real. So I'm already planning the next revitalization of this building.
You're going to come out of retirement and
For one last ride. One, you thought they were out, but they drag you back in.
One last construction project.
let's do this. Caroline, how about you? What are you revitalizing?
I went so selfish on this. You all have such great answers, and mine is just literally my apartment. I'm inspired by the people who want to take the aesthetic of the gamer space and incorporate it into their living, their day-to-day life. I think it's my apartment. The bones are good. The structure's good. I just need to start with a deep weed. Bryce?
You know, I have an answer, but it's terrible compared to absolutely everybody else's. I've been watching a lot of baseball lately, which I know is not the most exciting thing to watch on TV, but I know Toronto Blue Jays, they're of course playing in Buffalo because of whole COVID thing. And they really need a new ballpark in Toronto. So of course I'm talking about Rogers Center, or it used to be known as Sky Dome. I was there a couple of years ago for a game, and it was really cool to go. Lots of history there, but they really need an updated ballpark. So if they called on me, I would give my 2 cents on what they can do to update it.
And Richard has asked an important question here. How were the bathrooms at I still call it Sky Dome. It's Rogers Place?
Yeah, it's like Rogers Center now,
Okay.
but not great.
So it sounds like you and Richard and Tamara are going to be heading out to Toronto.
Absolutely. Yeah, starting with the washrooms, and we'll work our way out and eventually get to the field and the seating area.
I like this. I like when a plan comes together.
Yeah.
So thank you so much to all of you for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about the opening, especially when there's so much going on. Is there anything coming up at the library that you would like people to know about?
Yeah, so in a few weeks, we're going to start our self-serve 3D printing service. So we'll have some spots that will start to come available for people to get trained up on how to use our 3D printers, and then we'll be offering access to them to book. And currently, if you drop into the makerspace and you'd just like to learn how to use the vinyl cutters, and we have a heat press for making t-shirts, that's something that staff can help you with right now. So definitely look to that in the future or at the moment.
Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to our second cohort of Google IT Support Certificate students graduating from their program in a few short weeks here. So they've been running this since the spring and managed to keep learning throughout all this pandemic. And I'm excited to give them all a big congratulations once they're complete.
I
Tamara?
already put in a little plug for in-person family story time coming up in some other section here, but there's also some more online options coming up for our children's programming. So there's going to be some Zoom options as well as our live baby lap time, and so people will be able to see each other and also interact with their kids doing baby lap time online.
Great. So we will have the links to where you can go to find out all the information for everything that's happening at the Milner Library and our branches as well. Those will be in our show notes and the list of items for this episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you haven't done so, we encourage you to hit the subscribe button so that you automatically get new episodes. Please also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We love getting reviews. And more importantly, tell a friend about the show. Maybe someone who might want to check out the Milner Library.
Yeah. And don't forget, of course, as Caroline mentioned, we will have a link to absolutely everything that we talked about in today's show notes, including our guests' awesome Overdue Finds picks. And of course, we love to hear from our listeners. You can reach us on Twitter at epl.ca, and please use the hashtag EPL Overdue Finds so we can see your message. And please also, you can email us at podcast@epl.ca. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.